Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shifting Gears. I am your host, Clutch. It's a pleasure to have you on tonight. Happy Valentine's Day. For those of you that are single, happy Singles Awareness Day. I am so thrilled to have with me tonight Anna Prosser and Jeff iNcontrol Robinson in a special Valentine's Day interview. If you hadn't heard, this couple was recently engaged. Very, very excited for them. I did the interview over the weekend so they could enjoy this night together. Excited for them. I did the interview. Why is this stream going crazy? Anyway, sorry about that, guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start the interview. Everybody, I am joined by Anna Prosser and Jeff iNcontrol Robinson, two huge figures in the realm of esports, and now recently engaged. We're really excited to have them on the show, especially with Valentine's Day fast approaching. Guys, thanks so much for agreeing to be on here. We're really excited. And congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you.
A lot of us were not too surprised that it finally happened, but we were really glad that it finally happened. So,
that's actually, I think that's what Anna would say too.
Finally. Well, the first question I would like to ask is, how did you meet?
Do you want to take it, Jeff, or do you want me to?
It's ladies first, Anna.
Oh, that's right. Well, we were co-captains of the speech and debate team of Oregon State University. So actually, we didn't meet when we were captains. We just met on the team. I transferred there my sophomore year. And I guess, Jeff, did you join your freshman year?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we had been just kind of vaguely friends, and then we became co-captains and made each other laugh and had all sorts of fun adventures being two people who didn't buy into a lot of the speech team drama and really enjoyed talking and acting and making people laugh, and it kind of evolved from there.
Cool. The speech drama of what happened in that club, was it kind of bad?
Well, there was just a lot of, I don't know, Jeff, do you want to describe that?
I mean, speech and debate is really intense.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people can describe a typical speech and debate tournament with a bunch of nervous-looking trench coat wearing people smoking outside, like hiding from the rain. And it's just because it's such an intense, cerebral thing. You know, when you debate someone, you're really going for the guttural. You're trying to prove that you're smarter and know more than them, and you speak better. You know, it's pretty macho. So that kind of reflects on the team a lot of times, just really intense and a lot of anxiety going around. So there was just silly things, nothing bad, you know. One guy slept with every girl on the team except for Anna, and one girl did kind of the same thing the other direction. Like, speech and debate had its own little world, kind of like StarCraft does, and all the drama that comes with it. So it was pretty funny.
Okay.
I can give a good example of what I mean about Jeff and I, and I've told this story a few times on the internet, but there was one time where the whole team was just livid because nobody could agree on where they wanted to go to dinner, and this was like a common fight that we had. But Jeff and I were at this little two-person table in some school cafeteria, and the rest of the team was literally in a circle around us fighting over our heads. And I was just staring at Jeff and rolling my eyes and being like, I'm so hungry, I just want to get out of here. And Jeff stared at me, saw that I was, you know, needing a good laugh, looked down at the table. All that was there was one of those little metal napkin dispensers that you see at, like, you know, old school restaurants. He grabs one so quickly and stuffs it in his mouth before I have an instant to, like, react at all. Quickly chews it up, eats it, swallows it within the course of like a couple seconds. And I know that sounds really random and weird, but it was like just the funniest thing I could possibly think of at that moment, and I think I laughed for a good 15 minutes straight, and the rest of the team finally stopped fighting because they couldn't figure out why I was laughing so hard, because there was no evidence of what he had done. And that was when I knew we were meant to be.
Well, that's a really cool story. So what was your first thought when you had met each other? Was this somebody that you were attracted to because you had the same kind of personalities, especially being around those kind of people?
It's hard to say when I first met Jeff what I thought of him, because it feels like we really gradually became closer and closer friends. So it's like I couldn't put a finger on the moment that, like, I walked in the room and Jeff was there. It was like we were friends before that. But I remember the moment I started thinking, like, wow, this guy and I, like, we really have something in common, because all of our stories are at Oregon State. So be ready for that. Go Beavs. But we went to the library to practice one of our speech events, because we actually did duo, which is two people doing like a dramatic reading kind of thing together. So we went to practice, and we ended up just sitting there and talking and just chatting about our families and our lives and agreeing on a lot of things. You know that feeling where you meet someone and you just agree on a lot of things? And then the loudspeaker at the library came over and said, the library will be closing in 15 minutes. And both of us are like, that's weird. Library's closing at like 6 today? What's going on? And it turns out it was actually 5 hours later than we thought. And we thought we'd been talking and I know people always say, it felt like we'd been talking for only a little while. But I literally was checking my watch because I thought we had been there for an hour and we had been there for 5.
My first thought's awesome. I was a college freshman, so I walked into the debate team meeting, and there were several girls there. Multiple of them were pretty attractive, but Anna actually did not even register in my vision because my brain told me that she was too pretty, and that there was no chance in hell. So she doesn't exist. She's not real. Whatever.
I think that's why I had no recollection of Jeff, because it was like I didn't exist to him for a long time. There was a bubble.
I'm very proud of the way my brain works. It's very good at being like, that's not even an issue. Don't worry about it. So it was like pretty girl, nah, some weird blank space, pretty girl, it was funny too because I got paired up with one of the other girls who, in my head, I was like, she's pretty. I could see somewhere going here, and she was nicknamed the Ice Queen eventually, and
oh wow,
that was how she was too. So my first thought about Anna was that she wasn't real and didn't exist, but then, to go along the same theme of freshman mind, and Anna's going to love this story too, one of the only times I actually recognized Anna is we were getting ready to leave for a tournament, and she was wearing really nice white sweatpants that showed her very, beautifully shaped body very well.
Very shapely, yes.
That was the first time I noticed Anna, so this will be the kind of story that I look forward to looking back and telling our kids that, your mom had a rockin' tush, and that was the first... That was the first time I recognized her mother. So.
Well, and I remember that moment because I had just come back from studying abroad in Spain, and I had been gone for a long time, and so I saw Jeff and instantly recognized him. And I was on the Spanish kick, so I had dyed my hair black, and I was kind of tan, and so I was like, "Hey, Jeff, good to see you." And he kind of looked at me and goes, "Your hair is black." And I was like,
walking.
I was like, "Yeah," and then he was gone, and that was it. And I was like, okay.
I was even weirder than I am now, so yeah.
And then it's really funny because later he told me that was the moment that he recognized me, and that was where I existed in his brain, and to me that was just like, oh, he has no interest in talking to me. I'm sorry.
Well, it looks like something flipping that brain, Jeff, with the black hair, but that's a good thing, and now the rest is history, it seems.
Mm-hmm. I guess.
So good thing you dyed it that day. Well, that's pretty neat. It's so cool to hear stories of how people have met and to see the journey of where they have come, and also how a lot of people can relate of, in our lives being young adults. This is kind of the forefront of our priorities of finding somebody that we'd like to spend the rest of our lives with, and yeah, girls make it really romantic and lovey-dovey, and guys are like, yeah, whatever, dude, as long as she can cook. But honestly, you want to find somebody that you would want to spend the rest of your lives with. So it's cool that to hear those stories of you didn't have to go slay a dragon or anything, Jeff. It was just a change of the hair color. That's something happens. So.
I think I initiated it more than Jeff did. Would you say that's true, Jeff?
Yeah.
There was a text message exchange because Jeff, being the power lifter guy that he was, long story, had to lift one of the other guys on our team during a certain tournament and ripped his dress pants. And so I sent him a text message with all of my womanly wiles that could have been interpreted as just, hey, I'm a seamstress, I can fix those pants if you want. But it may have been a little bit more like flirty than that too. Mm-hmm. And I think I like to think that maybe that started the process.
A relationship started with innuendos.
They were over the top, completely ridiculous ones too.
Well, that keeps it fun. Mm-hmm. So you brought up text messaging, and this is my next question. After Oregon State, with your different schedules, especially Anna, with beauty contests and being Miss Oregon, and Jeff, you being a pro gamer, how has technology helped in times of long distance?
It's been indispensable. I like to try to explain to people how different relationships are now. And it's funny because a lot of my friends will be like, yeah, I met this really cool guy or this really cool girl, and it just won't work because it's long distance. And in my head, that doesn't even like exist because I live on the internet, and I'm here with you guys on the internet right now, and I've had so much of my relationship be like that I'm really comfortable there. So I think it helped that Jeff and I are both very much like that. Like, we do a lot online. He obviously spends and has spent his entire childhood and life online, and so we were really comfortable. But we had to get creative, like when he was doing NASL and I was doing Miss Oregon USA, because I would be gone all day. He was in California, and so what we would do is we'd set up movie dates where we'd get on Skype with video chatting, and then we'd set up a movie or a show on Netflix and then go 3, 2, 1, play, so that we could play the movie at the same time and like laugh together and watch it together. And I know that sounds really silly, but just being able to like have his presence there while I was watching the movie and having those little dates to look forward to, I think it really saved me quite a few of those weeks, because it was really difficult. It sucked.
Yeah. I mean, even beyond that, like Anna has always been kind of a gamer too, so some of the ways we spend quality time together is like we'll actually play StarCraft together, like late nights or weekends. She actually does a really good job playing with her brother and a couple of her friends from back home, and I'll join, and it's like it's not much because I play StarCraft all day, but to play with her is really nice. And then also we'll play Skyrim together, because in the early part of our relationship we went through and played Kingdom Hearts, I think 1 and 2 together, and she did all the puzzles and I did all the fun stuff. And
he did all the fighting and I did all the fun stuff.
Right. And it's just a nice way for us to spend time together while still doing what we like to do. So as far as technology is concerned, it's obviously going to be a strong part in our relationship, but it's helped us in the long distance, and it's also just kind of been a nice thing we can do together even when we're together.
We have to try to remember not to completely like be on screens all day, because I mean, I'll kind of realize I've been staring at a screen all day, and we have to remember to go to the zoo or go out to dinner, go see a movie on a bigger screen. I don't, do something that's not
go
one
outside
of
the
our
house.
screens at home. Yeah, because it's really easy, because we live and work and play here. It's really easy to just sit in this chair or go upstairs and sleep, and then come back and sit in this chair, and
And the hot Arizona sun. We got to hide from it. So.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
that's a
no
deterrent.
joke.
It's not all our fault, you know what I mean?
It's the environment, clearly.
Right.
Oh yeah, easy.
Well, with that in mind, how do you balance your schedules with a lot of your work being on computers? Do you set a time like, okay, Friday nights we're going out, we're doing something besides being on the internet or using technology, or how do you balance that out?
I think we're still working on that. It's been a huge transition, not only moving from Oregon to Phoenix, or Oregon to Arizona, I guess, and living with a lot more roommates and working solely for ourselves. We don't have other part-time jobs now. We are basically only independent contractors. So all of these living together, yeah, all of these transitions are happening all at once. So we've had to slowly say, okay, we need to remember that at least an hour a night we are doing something together, as opposed to just like, I mean, you can see my hand in the back of Jeff's webcam. That's how close we sit to each other every day. But there are days when we don't interact whatsoever, even though we're 8 feet apart. So we've been working on that, and that goes as far, not even just our relationship, but our work schedules. Like, I do probably 4 different roles every day, and if I don't do one of them, then I start to feel stressed and panicky, like, oh, I didn't do enough PR today, or I didn't do enough, recruiting some modeling jobs, or whatever it is. So I actually sat down last week, it's timely that you asked, and I made what's called an ideal calendar for my entire week, where I say, from this time to this time, ideally, I would be engaging in this activity, and ideally, from this time to this time, I would be doing this other thing. So most of my days from like 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. are planned out now, and that's really been helping me. It's been helping because then I can unplug at a certain time at like 10 and say, okay, from now on, the evening is for Jeff, or for me to relax, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, when Anna says it's a work in progress, it's really true. Like, for me specifically, like, the kind of hard part about being a pro gamer is, especially in StarCraft, you're never, like, no one's reached Zen perfection, right? There's no player, even the best player on the planet would tell you that they have more things to work on. They have more things to get better at. So, and obviously I'm not the best player on the planet. So I always, like, at the end of the day, sure, I've been doing it for 10 hours, but it's like, let's do it a couple more. You know, I'm not quite there yet. I need to work a little bit harder. So there's been some days where that kind of gets out of control. So it's been a labor to work on, to make sure that I have the self-control that it is good to cap yourself at 8 or 10 hours, you know, to make sure that you spend time with Anna and with other people too, so that I have a healthy mind and body, you know. If I were to, like, attach my organs to the computer and just play the game for 24 hours a day, I wouldn't necessarily be a better player for it.
That's so true. And we find that we're our best selves when we have balanced lives, because if we're lacking in something, then it's going to affect everything else.
Yeah.
So, well, it's great that that kind of preparation in your guys' lives being young is good, especially when you grow together in a marriage. And I know I'm young, I'm not married yet, but I've met a lot of people that they didn't have good time management, and they would start to realize, I am not spending enough time with my kids, I'm not spending enough time with my wife, I'm not spending enough time at work or with my friends or doing what I need to do, and then everything starts to suffer.
Yeah. One of the things I've definitely learned over the past few years I had a really great job at this financial company, and then also doing Miss Oregon USA and all these other things that I did, to really sit back multiple times a day and remind myself what's most important. And, you know, this task that I'm doing right now, it's the most immediate, but what's most important is that my relationship with Jeff is good, my spiritual life is in order, my emotional life is in order, that my family is safe. You know, those are the things that I should be most concerned with. And if those are in order, I can be okay taking care of those immediate tasks too.
Yep, very true. Very true. Now, moving on to a very important question. Who is your favorite Disney character?
How could I ever pick? It's like there's so many, like, different reasons why. I mean, is it because you could pick a favorite princess, or you could pick a favorite, like, comedy character, quirky sidekick? I don't
Well,
know
if we want to
how
make it easier, Anna, who's your favorite princess?
See, I don't even know. I don't know.
Is there any one of those?
It's like it changes every second.
Because of the dress color or because of the personalities?
The personalities. Well, we were just in Disneyland, you know, and so it's like every time I'd see one, that was my new favorite for the second. I love Disney so much. Lately I've been really into Mickey and Minnie, which is silly, and nobody's into Mickey and Minnie, which I think is why I'm like, hey, these are the originals, you know, and also Jeff proposed to me when I was wearing a shirt that had Minnie giving Mickey a big kiss on the cheek. So
that's cool.
We're like Mickey and Minnie. Isn't that cute?
I like Jack Skellington.
He's not really a Disney character.
He's at Disneyland. It counts.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll take it. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to move to some questions more specifically for you, Anna. The first one is, how have your experiences in the beauty contest world and in being Miss Oregon, how have they translated into your experiences in esports? Either being in front of the camera or talking to people or performing. How has that helped you?
Well, whenever I start talking about pageants, I feel like I kind of have to give the disclaimer, like the explanation for how I got involved in them in the first place, because people assume so many things about what it means to be in a beauty pageant. And honestly, when the first person who asked me to do a beauty pageant approached me, I laughed in their face and was like, I was captain of the speech and debate team. Do you know, like, hello? And I thought I was just far too progressive for something like that. But it was right after I had graduated. Jeff was still in Corvallis, and I was writing my undergraduate thesis, and I was just bored out of my mind. And so I thought, you know what, this could actually be really funny. I'll go, my friends can laugh, I'll have all these funny stories about these, like, crazy shallow girls and this dumb contest. So I did Miss Portland back in 2008 and accidentally won, having no idea what I was doing. But the things that I loved about being in the pageant were being in a show and getting to perform for my friends and family, getting to speak my mind because there was an interview portion, which later translated into also doing a lot of speaking to important people in my community and kind of lobbying for important causes and things like that. And then also meeting all these really highly motivated women that I didn't really have a ton of girlfriends in college, and the ones I had were great, but I hadn't met that many really motivated, challenging, exciting women all in one place at one time. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my defense, is like that's what I found in pageantry. When I expected to find all this shallowness, I found opportunity and the ability to utilize this newfound attention, that I had this big shiny crown on my head, and all of a sudden people cared about what I was saying, and I was not only able but responsible to use that attention to do something really positive. So all that aside, I think the most important thing that's translated into esports for me is the sense of having that kind of a stage. And every time I get an opportunity even to do an interview like this, or to be a host, or whatever I'm doing, the great responsibility and honor that is. And I mean, I can't deny that also the practice that comes from being on stage and speaking to tons of different kinds of people, that definitely helps me be the kind of person where I can pop on a screen, or I can take directions really quickly, or come up with questions that are relevant. Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know what they're barking at. No. So I think comfort being on stage, confidence, and then also the ability to relate to multiple different kinds of people without making assumptions about who they're going to be or what kind of organization they're a part of before I've experienced it is probably biggest. Jeff, you've heard me say that a million times. Did I cover everything?
You did.
Well, what was your favorite moment during your reign as Miss Oregon?
Well, my favorite moment. I'm really bad at picking favorites. You're gonna find this out. Anything that has to do with choosing just one is gonna be really hard. So I'll give you a theoretical moment.
Okay.
There were multiple times when a little girl would come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, you're a princess," and you know, my name is so and so, and the ability to make her feel special, even though I'm just some girl and they put this silly metal thing on my head and it's really sparkly, but the fact that like me paying her attention really meant something to her, and then she could go and tell her friends like, I talked to a real princess, and I had the ability to be a role model for her, and then to move forward as a role model and make decisions that she was going to be looking at. That was really weighty and exciting for me. The look in these little girls' eyes was just, it's almost scary how much of an honor it was, I guess. And then, okay, I thought of one moment that was good.
Okay, go ahead.
When we did Miss USA, oh, Barriston's definitely going to be stealing all the attention from here on out. That's our English bulldog.
He's a beautiful dog.
He is a good-looking dog. Anyway, you know, being like a sports star or something, you get that arena sound, the roar, like, you know. And I've been on stage a lot. I've had applause. I know what it feels like to get applause. But when I went out on the Miss USA stage and said, Anna Prosser, 26, Portland, Oregon, the sound that came from that venue was just deafening. It was such a cool sound. It like made emotion bubble up inside of me. So that was kind of when I appreciated the magnitude of where I was, that I really was in for a really cool opportunity.
Jeff, I'm sure you've had similar opportunities with people coming up to you and saying, oh man, I wish I was a pro gamer, or what you're doing is so cool, how can I become like that? Mm-hmm. But that, again, guys, we're young, but to have people come up to us that are younger than us and saying, oh, it's so amazing, how did you do it? I want to be just like you, is almost humbling to realize, wow, I am in a position where I could make a difference in someone's life, even if it is just to let them smile and feel good about themselves for a little while. It's pretty humbling, but it's really cool.
Well, I make a conscious effort to realize that's not always going to be the case, probably. You know, it'd be nice if it was, but it probably won't be. So I try to just, every time I'm in that situation, just absorb it so that I can remember and have that perspective, because it is really nice, like you said.
Yeah. Well, and another question for you. As an interviewer or even a spectator, do you have any favorite or theoretical favorite moments in your history of esports?
I would say I have one as an interviewer host and one as a spectator.
Okay.
One of my favorite spectator moments was Jeff's MLG Dallas. Was it Dallas this last year when you got fourth? Jeff's MLG Dallas run. I mean, it's pretty obvious I love watching him win, and he just played some really good games, and there were all those nail-biting moments of, like, is he going to pull it out? You know, is he going to get it together? And it just felt so good because I know how good he is, and I know how hard he works, and to see him be honored for that means so much to me. So, I mean, you can apply that to any time he's ever won. But as far as being a host or interviewer, being on the stage at IPL 3, the past one that IPL did was hands down my favorite event that I've ever done because it was all live, and most of the interviews I do are usually pre-recorded, and I've thought about them before and things, but IPL was very, like, I had a little earpiece, and if they said, Anna, go, you have 30 seconds, you need to say something exciting, I had to walk out on stage and say something exciting, and they would be in my ear talking while I was talking, and so it was kind of this taste of this really exciting, fast-paced broadcast world that I don't get to do very often and that I love, and it's thrilling for me.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you do.
It's very thrilling, and it's also a little bit stressful too if something's not going right, and they need to fill time with what I did with MLG of we need to fill time at least 5 minutes. Can you do something? And I have to produce something on the spot. But you have those things in your mind of what you need to do, and you get it done, and that's where a lot of that magic happens. With some of those spur of the moment moments.
It's kind of like a puzzle, like because a lot of times
exactly.
You're the face of, like, in IPL's case, sometimes there was a delay or something, and I'm the face of the delay. So I have to come up with a way to keep the crowd excited, make them happy, not make them hate me, and make them sit in their chairs for just 5 more minutes, you know?
Yeah, it can be stressful, but when you do have the crowd in your hands, so to speak, it is such a wonderful feeling, too. And, Jeff, you have plenty of hosting experiences and being in front of so many people. Now, you talked about how you were in... was it the debate team? What was the official team name of the Oregon State group you guys were in?
Speech and debate.
Speech and debate. Okay.
It's creative, huh?
With your experiences there, and even in sports, how has that translated for you into your experiences in esports?
Oh, I think it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I think a big part of the reason what separates and gives me a lot of value to the community is my ability to speak and to be in front of a camera or to be in front of a microphone and distinguish myself from the typical person that would be in a similar situation from a pro gaming background where they're not as comfortable talking in front of a camera or on a microphone. So I credit and owe a lot of that to the speech and debate team where I really honed on that skill, but also even before that, my parents just kind of raised me to be pretty outgoing, did a lot of sports, my dad was always giving speeches for business a lot of time, and I would sit in, or they just really kind of pushed that on me. So it's pretty funny, but I mean, even in the lowest points of my career, when I'm not winning a damn thing, I can count on people still being interested in hearing what I say because I'm opinionated and I can convey that. So it's made all the difference in the world for sure. And some of the platforms are really nice too. Like State of the Game has really established itself as a really big place for people to kind of go to hear about StarCraft 2. And then Inside the Game from our own organization as well is another great show with Idra and Wheat and Pain User on there. So I have a lot of ability, and then I have a lot of opportunity, and I think that all culminates into a pretty nice situation for me.
I know people in Control that will say, if In Control's not on this episode of State of the Game, I have no reason to watch it.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty high compliment, my friend. You are definitely you are a strong pillar in the world of esports and StarCraft 2, not only because of your play, but also because of your commentary and your presence. And you are a funny guy, and you're a witty guy, and that brings a great human face to what it is for people that are unfamiliar with esports, that don't really know that much about video games, but that can see people like you that have those kind of personalities that can say, well, I can connect to this guy, he's a funny guy, or can connect to Anna, like, wow, this was Miss Oregon? Okay, now I'm interested. Now, they can take that at face value, and it might be kind of shallow, but that's how people get interested in some things.
Sure.
So they're great skills to have, man, not just in esports, but all around. and that definitely
If it-
shows.
If it brings eyes to esports, that's fine. I can be Miss Oregon.
All right. Well, next question for you, Jeff, is physical activity. And I want to bring up Idra for a moment. I noticed when he started working out. I think I put my hand on his shoulder to tell him something real quick, and the kid was ripped. Like I was not prepared for the amount of muscle on that guy since he started working out. Do you think that physical activity or being in shape makes a difference as a gamer?
It makes a huge difference, an absolutely huge difference. I mean, a lot of times when people ask me, I want to be a pro gamer, what do I have to do? And the first thing you have to mention is the amount of time that is spent playing this game. And 8 to 10 hours is the numbers that are usually thrown around, sometimes as low as 6 or as much as like 12 to 15. Mm-hmm. But that's a severe chunk of your waking day, and it's a stagnant life to do that. You're sitting in a chair. Maybe you're getting up and walking to the fridge to get a drink or food, but that's not a lot of exercise. So a lot of people neglect and forget about the probably more important aspect of the game, just beyond time, is the mental aspect, right? I mean, if you have all the time in the world but you're messed up in the head, you're not going to be very successful or happy or healthy. And a lot of us StarCraft players don't really care about the second and third thing I just said. They just want to be successful. But those things all go hand in hand. So I've really, I mean, it's nice because I want to take all the credit for us working out, but I can't. Machine is extremely exercise-oriented. He's he runs every day. He does yoga. He doesn't care that everyone thinks that that's a silly girl thing to do. He's like, no, I'll do it to be in shape.
It's an awesome thing to do.
I'm more saying that because he's like right over there. Oh, he's not listening. Okay, but and he'll go out and work out every single day, and he's every day is like, well, shouldn't I just do this? And I'm like, nope, you can do more, and he's like, sure, whatever. He'll try it. And Greg was the same way, and I think Greg actually more than all of us took the diet part of it much more serious as well. Protein shakes all day long, healthy fruits and vegetables, really watching what he eats. And it just makes a huge difference as far as I'm concerned. Even to Muslim, who's not very physically active, he'll go out and swim on a pretty regular basis because that's what he wants to do to stay in shape. LZ Gamer's the same way. And I guess Huck's a bit of a gym rat as well. So EG is a pretty good example of people that are committed to that, but it's always been one of my platforms because I can honestly tell you there's such a huge difference between the guy who... Because it's not even like one day. Like I can spend a whole day inside playing StarCraft. That can happen. Mm-hmm. But if it happens like 4 or 5 days in a row, the third, fourth, and fifth day, you start to get a little bit more depressed and kind of quiet and sullen and cranky, and you start to blame things inside the game, and that's just because your body is kind of deteriorating. You're not getting the nutrients and exercise that you need. So if anyone ever asks me, I tell them it's extremely important. Now they shouldn't I don't think you need to be in the gym 5 hours a day if you're trying to help out your StarCraft play. But
rippling abs don't increase your APM.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with you, Jeff. And this is back to balance. If you're balanced, if you live in a balanced life, everything's going to go way better than being imbalanced. And physical activity, even in school, going running or doing something will definitely help you in your studies, which most of the people that watch esports are still in school or starting out their new jobs. And if you're physically fit or you're working on being physically fit, if you're getting those hours in during the week, it will make a difference. Even mentally, you'll feel more confident in yourself knowing that, hey, I am working on my physical appearance, and it will make a difference. So, true.
Finding ways to do that on the road has been one of the hugest challenges for us because during tournament season you sometimes are traveling like once every 3 weeks or so, and you're gone for 4 days at least. So for me, finding ways to, I have yoga videos on my laptop or things like that, that's really helped.
I wear size 14 shoes, so trying to pack those huge running shoes in my suitcase is kind of tough, but I make sure I do it. And even if I have to wake up JP in the hotel room because I'm closing the door for me to go running, I still try to do it.
I was proud of my size 13, but you blow me out of the water.
Those
sorry,
big
man.
shoes.
Yeah, it's a curse. I have to order most of my shoes online, and then they show up, and I don't like the colors. They don't fit right. I'm like, great, but at least I can send them back.
All right, Shaq.
All right, the next question for you, Jeff, is how and why did you become a part of Evil Geniuses?
It's pretty cool. I think EG did it right. StarCraft 2 was still just on the horizon. We weren't even in the beta stage yet. In fact, it would end up being a good 9 months, maybe almost a year, where EG approached First Machine and said, hey, we're looking to recruit some players with the idea that they will be our StarCraft 2 players moving into the future. We think Brood War players will be the guys to go with. And Machine said, great. And they said, hey, ask your friends too, and we'd like to talk to them. So Machine went to G5, LZ Gamer, myself, and then Louder, I believe that's everyone, and said, hey, this team was looking to pick up some players, and they're like a professional team. They'll even pay for you to go places and stuff like that. And in Brood War, that was like, what?
Yeah.
They'll send us to events? I mean, everyone sent themselves to places in Brood War.
Mm-hmm.
Very few people, and 99% of them were Korean, got any kind of compensation or airfare. So that was when it was kind of the big deal, and it was pretty cool. Right from the very beginning, EG's like, okay, here's your jersey. You wear blue jeans and nice shoes and no stupid haircuts, and that's what we do. And it was very reminiscent to me of my high school football team, which took itself very serious like that as well. So I was immediately at home with EG.
Right on. Well, they're a definitive force here in the esports realm, not just in North America anymore, but having players over in Korea, and then your team house. I don't want to say partnership, I guess is the correct word with Slayers. It was pretty exciting when that was announced.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that.
But speaking of even Slayers, they have a soccer team. That's one way that they keep in shape running around. So it's very important over there as well. And another question for you here, Jeff, is how has the camaraderie of living in a team house affected you?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. I think one of the nice things about EG specifically, but also living in a house with your fellow teammates, EG specifically, these are my friends. I've known Machine for, gosh, this is like not remembering your anniversary. Yeah, he says too long. Many years. It's been like 2006.5 type of thing, so a long time.
You've known Machine before you knew me, and we started dating in 2006.
Yeah, so I don't know, 2005, 2004, something like that. 2003, 9 years now, good lord. A long time, and then Idra, LZ Gamer, all these guys, to a certain extent, I've known for a very long time. So to have that relationship going into the team itself has been just amazing because, as everyone knows, living with someone's kind of hard, actually. I'm sure a lot of people have that hard, like that dumb roommate story.
That doesn't do their dishes. Yeah, I got one of those.
We don't
I
really
don't know
have
any guys who don't do their dishes.
We don't really have that because we're all like really good friends, and it's just it's kind of like we always have the same kind of feel when people are like, "What do? You play StarCraft for a living?" And we're like, "Yeah, we kind of do." And it's like we're cheating the system. This is like another extension of that. We're like, we live with all our best friends and we play StarCraft all day. It's like, yeah, someone pays us to do that. So we're really happy about that. And
envy of the world, Jeff. Envy of the world.
Well, believe me, I know I'm lucky. So, but the camaraderie, like you're saying, it's nice because it's not always rainbows and gumdrops. Sometimes it's kind of hard. If you get bounced out of a tournament hard, or if you, the community's upset with you for one reason or another, the only thing that brings you out of that is the people around you. It's real easy to feel those walls squeeze in on you and the weight of the world on your shoulders. But when your teammates are like, forget about it. Let's go play some games, or hey, let's go out and see a movie, or how about I buy you dinner tonight or something like that. Like that kind of stuff really keeps a player afloat, and it lets them know that they're not in it by themselves. And that's one of the functions the team house serves is mental well-being. And that begins and ends, in my opinion, with the people you're around. So for me, and specifically EG, it's really nice. We joke around all the time. We tease each other pretty good. And then we hold each other accountable. Like Anna was alluding to, we don't always do the dishes, but because there's all of us together, you eventually end up doing the dishes because someone will tell you. And that's kind of a nice life lesson to learn.
Well, Anna, let's get a question over to you here. We're talking a little more about women in video games in general. And do you think now that girls are being more accurately portrayed in video games, more specifically like their personalities or even their dimensions? We've seen girls in video games for many a year now that they've been these bimbos that walk around as sex objects. But more recently, especially in the Uncharted series, we have girls that are more realistic and definitely more heroic. Have you found a change in this realm in video games so far? Or do you still think it's kind of sexist, quote unquote?
Well, first of all, I would never call Lara Croft a bimbo, personally. But that's a tough one, because I think even if we get to the point where females are portrayed as accurately as males are portrayed in video games, there comes a point when you don't want to play a video game with like an accurately portrayed normal North American or something. You know, I mean, like, it's okay with me to be playing with a superhero. And I think that's part of why we watch movies or we play games, is that we want to live this alternate super life, you know? So I think I have a little less of a problem maybe with physical portrayal, at least, of women in video games sometimes than other women. But I do appreciate that specifically video game production companies are starting to recognize that women can also be their audience. They're designing games specifically for women, or more importantly, maybe even for younger girls. I think Nintendo has been really good about that for a long time. And for me, that's what really warms my heart and makes me excited, because I think that for a long time, they just didn't make the right kind of video games for girls. And of course, girls can play the same video games as guys and vice versa, but just biologically, a lot of times there are going to be things that appeal gender-wise to women and that appeal to men. And so I'm really reassured every time a game comes out that has interesting things for both sides. Or like, for example, I really like the Portal series. Like, I think that I know, like, Jeff's not a big fan of it because he likes to kill things in video games, you know, but like, I know a lot of guys who really like the Portal series. I know a lot of girls who really like the Portal series. And so it's like, there are starting to be games like that are really crossing boundaries in terms of like, everyone can play this. So I'm going on and on and on, but I'm really excited about the direction it's going. And as a woman who makes her livelihood talking about video games, it's exciting to know that people are at least thinking about my gender when they're going from beginning to end, like idea to production.
Well, it's also our generation that has grown up with video games is starting to design them and write them and create these kind of characters.
Oh yeah.
Where we want to get further away from the gimmicks and more to true organic characters or scenarios. It's really funny. I remember back in the day having a family computer and having Half-Life and Counter-Strike and all these different game boxes on the shelf, and then Barbie's Writing Club, which was what my sisters would play when they used the computer once every month, it seemed, because I was on that thing all the time. But we really have matured, I think, as an entire realm. And what I see sometimes that's laughable is some games where the woman's armor or clothing is so overexposed
Oh my God.
that one arrow would kill her.
Me.
Yeah, like one arrow, she's dead. You know, the Soul Calibur. I mean, some of those characters, one sword strike and they're done. So I find that laughable at times because they're totally exploiting the female figure. Now, as guys, we're not going to complain that much because, hey, we love females.
Except for Clutch, I guess.
Yeah, I guess me. But it gets to the point, like, this is just getting a little bit too ridiculous, guys. It's past the point of trying to make sales, and it's almost laughable. But that's because of the type of outlook we have on video games now. They're more than just a small niche community of geeks trying to get away from the world. They are careers, they are livelihoods, and they are great methods of telling fantastic stories.
And I think people are realizing there were girls like me and my best friend who we spent hours. We had this tiny little room in my house where there was just a TV and a little love seat, and that's all that fit in that room. And we would play Zelda for hours. We'd play Street Fighter for hours. We played Captain Comic and Commander Keen and Day of the Tentacle on the computer. And these girls are now growing up and, like you said, starting to be the designers or starting to be the people that, like, oh, game companies, these girls are making their own financial decisions now, and this girl bought 3 game consoles. You know, like, we need to market to these people, and it's becoming a lot more acceptable for those kind of girls to say, like, I'm a gamer, and that's cool, instead of being, like, shouldn't you be doing something else? Like, that's not a girl thing to do, you know?
Have you had any unique challenges being a female in a male-dominated gamer world?
I mean, yeah, it comes with the territory. When there's only, I mean, I was trying to count how many girls I can think of that are doing similar jobs to me or in the same community as me, and needless to say, it's a very small percentage. And anytime you're going to be a minority, there's going to be the typical jokes, the things that rub you the wrong way, but and the YouTube comments. The YouTube comments are gold.
Oh,
but I will say that I personally feel very safe especially in the StarCraft 2 community, because there are always going to be those people that are going to try and rip me apart, regardless of whether I'm a female or not, but especially because I'm a female. But there are always those people that are like, hey, chill out, like, she's just trying like the rest of us, and, you know, give her a break kind of thing. And I appreciate that very much about our particular community, and I think I take a lot of pride in that when I tell people about what I do. Not that other communities aren't great as well, but I love the sense of the idea of manner that's so pervasive in StarCraft 2. I think that is kind of my saving grace, even when things get obviously a little bit prejudiced and when people, you know, say hurtful things.
Yeah, yeah.
The only other thing I have to overcome is just that I'm working with all men, and sometimes the assumption is like that she's a woman, she can't do that as well, or they just don't, like, when you're with a group of all men, you don't necessarily want to add one woman because what's that going to do? And so overcoming that has sometimes been a challenge, but I've gotten there, and I think it's getting more and more so that people are realizing there's even scientific evidence to prove that a team is, in terms of a business, is going to be stronger with female and male counterparts, as opposed to just all male or all female.
Yeah. Well, there's two kind of people in this world, males and females. So knowing how both think and feel and act, because we are different in a variety of different ways, but especially in how we communicate to each other, it's really important to have that as far as any business structure, but even in esports. And so it's really exciting to see people like you and Rachel and others being forefront in the community of people that are easily recognizable and professional. You're not just some hired booth babes that look pretty and try to sell a product. You're actually engaged in the community, and you produce and you make content and you are actively engaged. So it's really nice to see that, and that's part of the maturity that our culture has gotten to. And go ahead.
Even when there is that immaturity, there are still there's a real sense of open arms where even people who have very different walks of life, even there are some like transgender individuals who are in this community, there's this sense of like, you're part of our community, cool, let's play StarCraft. And of course there's going to be the people that are like, no, you can't, or I'm going to make fun of you, but there's still, I'm just really proud of the acceptance that is in our community in the esports world that in general has been very not accepting of alternate genders, alternate walks of life, anything like that. So I appreciate that.
Well, a lot of it too, I think, is based on the type of culture that we've grown up with here in America, where the geeks, the nerds, the gamers are the outcasts, or the ones that don't get invited to prom by the girl, or for a Sadie Hawkins dance, they're not the one that get asked. So their heart's a little bit more open to people that would feel as outsiders or feel rejected. But this ties into my next question, is in American culture, gamers are stereotyped of being intimidated by females. Do you believe this is changing?
Changing?
As Jeff laughs.
Should give an honest answer.
I thought you were going to ask me, do I think it's true?
Oh.
And so I was preparing for that. Do I think it's changing? Yes, because I think that the modern gamer is changing.
It could mean it's not true. It's just the stereotype exists that it's true. So is
I think it is true.
Okay.
I think that in general, most gamers are intimidated. At least in my experience, I have met a lot of people who are unfortunately intimidated by me simply because I am a girl, and they're not used to interacting with me in the way that I'm trying to interact with them. But I think asking, is it changing, is a really interesting question, because like I said, I think that gaming is changing the people who, like, pro gaming is changing. So a pro gamer now has, you know, kind of a swagger. He has confidence. He has to meet lots of people and talk to lots of people. Because we have so many tournaments, if you're a player, even if you're a young up-and-coming player, or even if you're a spectator, you're going out, you're meeting people, you're being part of something, as opposed to, like, I guess the gamer of the past that generally interacted with people through a screen.
Mm-hmm. That was a good answer. All right, Jeff, let's bring it over to you, buddy.
Okay.
As a pro gamer, what has been your favorite moment? Theoretical or specific?
You're not going to let me get away with that one, are you?
No, I like it.
I think my favorite moment as a pro gamer was in 2007. I won the national championship for Brood War, and the whole story of it was pretty darn important to me because that was my first chain of lands I'd ever gone to. So even the qualifier was kind of an anomaly. Like, my dad had a business trip there, and it just so happened that I had qualified online for that offline qualifier. So I was like, hey, you know, can I tag along? It's like, sure, you know, it'd be good father-son time. And at the time, StarCraft was being downplayed because I was, you know, focused on your studies and you're in high school. You know, now it's time to buckle down. What do you want to be? That kind of stuff. But it was like, okay, I guess you can play in this tournament there. And I ended up taking second there to Froz, a legendary Brood War player. And that qualified me for the national championship in Florida. And Florida and Washington are about as far away as you can get in the United States. And very expensive. But it was really important to me, obviously. This was still my life at that time. I wasn't being paid for it. It wasn't anything like StarCraft 2 is now in terms of fan base or importance, but it was still, it was everything I did. I would come home and that was all I thought about. I'd go to school and that was always, I'd think about, even during football practice, I would be, you know, sitting in the trenches with the other linemen and I'd just be thinking about Brood War and previous games or strategies and what I need to do and how excited I was to get on vent with my friends and talk about the game and play. So my dad was like, yeah, okay, we'll work something out. And a week before the national championship, he said, I'm sorry, I just can't wing it. You know, I can't afford to buy you the airplane ticket. And it was the most, like, devastating phone call I've ever gotten. It was really early in the morning. I remember it. I had woken up, slept over at my buddy's house in his basement, and I was on the verge of tears. In fact, let's go ahead. I was probably crying. I was probably crying. I can't remember. And I called my mom and I just said, hey, like, I don't know what to do. And my parents are divorced, and my mom was a single mother raising 3 kids, and she did not have any money really. But she said, we're going to make it work. You're going to that tournament, don't you worry. And it was like the most reassuring, amazing thing she ever told me. I was just so happy. And she ended up borrowing money from a friend and sending me in short notice this expensive flight for my first time traveling to Florida to compete in the national championship for the game that mattered to me. And I ended up having a dream tournament. I beat everybody. I did incredibly well. I won the entire thing. And nobody expected me to. I was one of, I think, 2.5 Zergs there. LZ Gamer was in the tournament, and he was like a hybrid Zerg player. He played Protoss as well. And I won the thing, and I made that phone call home, and she started bursting into tears when I told her that I won, and it meant the world to me that she was so proud and that she took a risk on me. And the nice thing is, too, is that because of the prize money, and I got like a $1,000 gift card to Circuit City, I bought her a nice camera, and I tried to treat her real nice because she was the whole reason I went. But that phone call was probably the most important thing for me.
Wow, Jeff, thank you for that story.
Yeah. That
was beautiful, man. Next question. How has your relationship with Anna affected your confidence?
I wish I could give it more credit. Like, it means the world to me. It's everything. But I think, it always hits me on the backside. Like, I'll a couple days later be like, gosh, I am so lucky to have a person that would that supports me like she does. Because I hear all the time stories about wives and girlfriends, and even on the flip side, sometimes boyfriends and husbands, who they don't understand StarCraft. They don't understand how anyone could sit down and do something for this amount of hours, get upset about it. I mean, some guys break their keyboards, some guys the whole day is ruined, and it just doesn't make sense to the significant other. They're just like, that's dumb. Like, you're immature, you need to grow up. So there's a lot of people kind of living with that on their back, and that's their burden, is that they have this like guilty pleasure that really matters to them. I don't have that perspective. Anna has always been incredibly supportive. I mean, There of course have been times where I need to learn to balance things a little bit better. But as far as a partner goes, she's always been incredibly supportive and encouraging, actually. The next step from there, too, is like at tournaments, she knows I have a tendency not to eat or drink. And, of course, I start getting down on energy and stuff like that. She'll, without a shadow of a doubt, go out and help me out that way and offer to help and rub my back and just say, good job. And all that stuff really matters. Not even in comparison to the flip side, but just having that in general. This game is so mental, and it's so exhausting to play a tournament, but even outside the tournament, just the rigors of the game itself, day in and day out, if you don't have a good social network starting with your significant other, then it's a huge challenge on top of an already difficult task. So I'm really fortunate, and like I said, I'm striving to show it more.
Well, it's a beautiful thing when you can share pretty much your entire life or what you do with the other person.
Yeah.
Too many times people that are involved in esports or just regular sports or something they're so passionate about, and then they meet someone, but then they feel they have to give up that part of themselves in order to please that other person. And in the end, they're not going to be happy. They're going to resent that person later on, which is very unfortunate. So it really is such a great thing to see how close you guys are in the realm of esports, in the realm of video games, and that you can share all of it together. It really is awesome. And when I see you guys at tournaments, I go, there they go. That's like the perfect couple. That's the couple. If I could find a girl like Anna that has the same interests I do, or maybe she doesn't, play as much as I do, or is not as passionate enough as I am, but still totally understands what it's about, fully supports me. She's there when I need her. If you're there, whoever you are, please send me a tweet, Clutch08. But I haven't met her yet. But Jeff, it's so true. When you have that and you find it, it means the world. So
I put a ring on it.
Yeah, put a ring on it.
You liked
exactly.
it, so you put a ring on it?
Exactly.
I feel like it has to be said, though, that it's not just me who does that. Jeff's excellent at not only like comforting and supporting, but challenging me. And I think I credit him a lot for not only physically enabling me, like helping me to basically make the jump between like, here's my sensible job that I was doing from 9 to 5, and here's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And Jeff was the one who, first of all, challenged me to do it, and second of all, helped me bridge that gap. And he's constantly doing that for me. Like today I had an audition and I didn't want to go, and he kept telling me how bad I needed to go and why I needed to go. And, he's just he knows me so well, and he knows what I'm going to be happy doing, so he pushes me to do it, and I appreciate that. I don't know if I already took one of your other questions, but I felt like if he said it, I got to say it too.
No, thank you for that. All right, moving on. These questions are going to be for both of you, but of course we'll let the lady answer first. Anna, how did you know that it was time for Jeff to propose?
Well, we had been talking about it. I mean, we were one of those couples that was really open about the fact that we planned on getting married as an ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. Even from the very beginning of us dating, it was like, maybe we won't get there, but as of right now, the plan is that we'll get married. And we'd been seriously talking about getting engaged since like 2008, 2009.
Wow.
And it just was never quite the right time, because Jeff went here, I went there, I was busy, I was doing pageantry, this or that thing, until we got this opportunity to move into the EG layer powered by Beyond Gaming in Phoenix, Arizona. And we had made the decision to wait until we were at least engaged to live together, because we felt like that was the right thing for us. Mm-hmm. But because of this opportunity, we obviously needed to make the decision to live together right away. So we kind of talked about how we're still planning on getting engaged. It's going to happen within the next few months, but right now we're going to move and we're going to take this opportunity. And then a few months went by, and we were busy. A few more months went by, that kind of thing. And we actually had a really deep heart-to-heart where both of us talked about how, it was just time for us to move forward, and we were both excited to kind of like take that leap. And the metaphor of a scary roller coaster that turns out to be the time of your life came up, and so we both kind of had to encourage each other, because we're both very cautious, we're both very like calculated, and we both had to say like, okay, we know we want to get engaged, so why have we put it off so long? And I think that's what really tipped the scale of like, now this is going to happen, really. And then Jeff, of course, couldn't keep anything a secret, and I knew exactly when and where he was going to do it.
Well, you knew Disneyland, but you did not know.
I didn't know where in Disneyland, you're right.
It was in front of the castle, right?
It was perfect, yeah.
That's great. Jeff, how did you know what size ring to get? That's always been a mystery to me, because if you get...
That's such a good question for him.
Yeah.
So bad. I mean, I went like... Ann and I actually always spend every moment pretty much together. So when one of us has to go somewhere, it's pretty hard to give any kind of like, it's pretty obvious what we're doing. So she knew I was out Christmas shopping and ring shopping, and I called up her friend who, like, she wouldn't answer the phone at first. That was kind of stressful, but then she did, and I was like, okay. So I need you to covertly ask Anna what size ring she wears, so be like, offhand about it, and then text me later. And she's like, she already knows I'm talking to you. I was like, okay, then I guess just ask her.
Well,
So,
from my point of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there was no secret about it. It was just, I kind of saved myself for the secret of the exact when and where, not anything else, basically.
Well, from my point of view, I was sitting at the table with her, and I saw her phone light up with Jeff, She goes, hi, Jeff, and he asked her to covertly ask what the ring size is, and she looks at me, and then she goes, I don't think I can do that. And Jeff goes, okay, just ask her. And she goes, Anna, what size ring do you wear? And I already knew, 5, okay, or 6 or whatever it was. I don't even remember now.
That part of the whole engagement process has always been a mystery to me, because I've heard of different strategies of how to find the right size, and most of it has been ask a friend. But when do you ask that friend? Do you ask just nonchalantly?
I can tell you how you find out. There are multiple ways. First is you can use some sort of decoy, like a little string or something, put it around her finger, like just joking or something like that, or even while she's sleeping or whatever it is, put a string.
That's weird.
That's stalkerish, okay.
And these are terrible ideas, by the way.
Oh, ha, 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 look, I'm putting a ring on your finger or whatever, and then you know how long the string is, and then you can take that in and they can measure that. Or, I forgot the second one. Dang it. Oh, take her ring shopping. Be like, oh, look at these rings. If you're at the point where you're going to get engaged, be like, oh, because she's going to want to go in and look anyway, so just walk into a jewelry store nonchalantly and be like, do you even know what your ring size is? And have her just find her ring size, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're buying her a ring. It's just like, oh, what a fun thing. We were looking at rings for the future someday.
And now you know. Then you could use that. All right. Well,
or you can ask her, like Jeff did.
Cool. Well, I'll make sure to remember those 5, 10, or 30 years from now when
Right.
I plan to get engaged. What kind of ceremony do you guys want? Do you know yet? Have you been even talking of plans or flower arrangements or colors or location or anything like that? Because that can be stressful just trying
Planning
to figure
a
those
wedding
things out.
is so hard. It's so exciting and so fun, but it's so hard. We just nailed down that we want it to be in November, but that's hard because we actually wanted an outdoor wedding, but we want it to be in Portland, where the most central location for the most people that we want to invite, and my hometown, which Jeff so graciously never contested me on wanting to have it there. But in Portland, if you're not having your wedding in like July, August, it's going to rain.
Yeah.
No matter, or it's not going to be cold, or there's a good chance it's going to be raining. So it's February now, so that doesn't give us much time before July to plan, and we really wanted to make sure that it was really perfect. And then also we got to thinking, if we do it sometime in there in tournament season, it could very well be like, go to Portland, get married, go the honeymoon, come home. Jeff has to ignore Anna for 2 weeks so that he can practice for the next tournament. And I definitely don't want that. So We settled on November because that's the time of the year when we can actually like go home and visit family afterwards. We can kind of take some time off. So because of that, the ceremony is going to have to be indoors. So now we're looking at like a church type setting, but we also want to invite tons of people, so it might have to be more of a big venue.
Planned it around MLG, Clutch. Around
We
MLG.
did.
Or we can just stream the ceremony. Straight to MLG. We thought about
convention center.
Yeah, we thought about doing that for day 9 because he had to miss the finals because he was at a wedding. I was like, dude, just Skype in. We can make it work. But yeah.
Well, lots of people are calling for us to stream the wedding, but we're still in the process of like really carefully considering that. There are pros and cons, of course, to each side.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to do that because an esports wedding. I mean, it'll be like one of the first ones. I got to be a part of the Tumba Lily proposal on the MLG stage. That was really cool. She was stiff as a board. I was trying to push her up there on stage, and I was tasked with making sure she wouldn't go anywhere. And we originally were to do the proposal at 2 p.m. that day, but then I got pushed back all the way to 7. I felt bad for Tumba because he had the ring in his pocket and he was nervous the whole time. And I had to make sure she didn't go anywhere. Then we were finally ready. She wasn't sitting down where she'd been sitting for the last 5 hours. And I went, oh no, where is she? But then she popped out of the corner and then we were ready to go. So it's just stressful doing that, let alone trying to plan a wedding. But for that kind of occasion, you know, that's something sacred between you two. So you guys ultimately have the decision. So my advice is don't cater to what the public wants. You guys do what's best for you, which I'm sure you already know that. So
we do take it really seriously. Marriage for both of us, both of our parents are divorced, and that created a lot of challenges for us. And so it's really important to us to take marriage very, very seriously. Obviously, it's fun and it's exciting, but it's also a huge commitment, and we really want to do it, like you said, that sacred honor kind of. So that's how we're trying to make our decisions.
Honeymoon? Disney World this time, Jeff? Or is that what you want to do?
Actually, we've been talking about that, yeah.
No joke, yeah.
Right on. That's where I would want to go. If it's in the States, don't have to worry about the water, like drinking water like other places. Where
I like Disney like an unholy amount. I love Disneyland so much.
It's great. Disneyland is awesome. Disney World is a 2-week adventure that you can get lost in. There's so much
I've never
to
been
do
there.
I went there for the first time last year, and I could only visit a park and a half in one day and spent the whole day there. It's huge, the amount of stuff you can do,
Cool.
which is really impressive. Now, not to take anything away from Disneyland. Disneyland is really neat. It's just slightly smaller. So,
Yeah.
But a honeymoon at Disney World, yeah, you guys, to do everything there would take at least a week and a half. But why not? That's where I would want to go to. People are like, why not like Fiji or somewhere? I said, well, the travel and that's a hassle in itself, and outside the U.S., I mean, it'd be great, and I'm sure you'd see a lot of cool sights, but there's just some other hassles that I wouldn't want to deal with being a newlywed. So, well, there's a good capstone for your guys' whole engagement process, a honeymoon at Disney World. That's awesome. Okay, moving into a deeper question here. Anna, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
My ultimate dream job would be to be a successful performing artist in some venue. Probably, if I were to just pick one out of air, that would be my favorite. Would be like an actress in film. Who knows if I'll ever get there, but something like that. And then to use that to do something like be a goodwill ambassador for the United Nations, or some sort of front person for a charity organization or something like that. Because I really feel like my talents lie in performance, and I get such a thrill and fulfillment out of creating performance art. But my ultimate goal in anything I do really is to just use my talents to the fullest, and in doing that make a real tangible difference in the world around me. So let's say in 10 years I'm starring in my second feature-length film, and I am traveling after that to Kenya on a goodwill mission for the United Nations.
All right. Jeff, same question.
I'll be traveling on a non-goodwill selfish trip to Australia. where I will be hunting sharks with rifles. No, I'm just kidding.
We might have a couple kids by then too.
Yeah, you can take them to Kenya.
I'll Angelina Jolie it up.
Yeah. Build a soccer team.
Oh, you're gonna bring kids back? Okay. You can keep those too. In 10 years, I'd still like to be in esports. Obviously not a player by that time, but probably more on the business side. So I really like what Sir Scoots does, helping manage a team and kind of doing the entrepreneurial thing where he's just developing and producing shows, getting his feet wet in different kinds of pools. I really like that. But then I also like what Alex Garfield does. He manages and contacts sponsors and does the sheer business side of EG. That's really cool. I find that almost as engaging and fun as playing the game, just because I find that to be like StarCraft in real life, basically, all the strategy and stuff there. But if not that, then coaching and teaching at a high school is my fallback plan. By the time I'm 36 or so, I'd like to have a couple of kids. And I love dogs, so maybe a couple of dogs, nice place to live, a fun, engaging job, and that's where I'd like to be.
When I was saying film actress, I meant like on top of the esports thing. Don't think I'm saying I'm out of there. Of
course.
I could see Jeff and I, when we get too old to be the camera people, being the management people.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have a perfect location of where you would want to live? Would you want to go back to Portland, to Oregon?
Well, okay. Somewhere like that. We like the Northwest.
Northwest. Yeah. All right. It's a beautiful place. I tell people it rains there all the time so they don't move there. That's
exactly.
how we keep it nice.
Keep telling them that.
All right. Anna, who have been inspirations to you?
In esports or just in general?
In general.
Like I said, I met an awful lot of really motivated, talented women through pageantry. Mm-hmm. And specifically, I had a director who was open, honest, challenging, and kind of freed me from the idea that like I have to fit into a mold, and which is funny because in pageantry you think of like trying to fit into the pageantry mold, but she was freeing me from the mold of like I have to resist doing my hair pretty, or I have to resist, just she kind of helped me say who are you and how do you express that in the most full way possible, and that really helped me become who I am today. Obviously, actually, Jeff's mom has been, just like Jeff said, she always does stuff like that where she sacrifices to make things possible for the people that she loves, and that's been a real inspiration for me. I'm not saying my parents because that'd be cliche, but I would hate for them to ever hear this and think that I'm not saying them, and I am saying hers. I love you guys too, and obviously you've been huge inspirations in my life. Fantastic parents who, in the same way, kind of always challenged me, like, is this really your best, or can you do better? But all of that is just kind of the piece that goes under that actually. And I know this is like, oh, how cute, but Jeff is a huge inspiration to me, and always has been, because Jeff and I are kind of different in that Jeff is very, like, steadfast. Like, when he makes a decision, he makes it, and there is no more doubt. It is like, that is what I am doing. And I'm very much more like, I want to talk about it, I want to analyze it, I want to go back over it, I want to reevaluate it. And that steadfastness and that loyalty and that steadiness has been such an anchor for me. And like I said, he's constantly pushing me to make those really confident decisions and move forward and take risks. So he's been my biggest inspiration.
iNcontrol, same question.
Well, I share a lot of the sentiments that Anna has. I think one person I have to give a lot of respect to is my high school mentor, Luke Dacey. He was my teacher and football coach and good friend, and we carpooled from where we lived in Snohomish to Seattle every single day. And I think 3 out of the 5 days during the week would actually sleep in. So I'd wake up to him knocking on my window saying, "Get your ass out of bed." This is my football coach / like English and history teacher, so I got it pretty good. But I just owe so much to him because that was a really tough period of time for me. That's when my parents were going through a divorce, and my younger siblings and my mom kind of relied on me for a lot of support. And he was the guy I relied on for a lot of support. So he was this really strong family man, younger guy. He's only a couple years older than me, but he's got the values, and he was living a simpler life as a teacher. You know, he's not rolling in the dough, but they saved up and they took the trips they wanted to, and that kind of stuff just really inspired me. And I just feel like I owe a lot to the way he ran his life and the kind of inspiration that gave to me. So that was really important. But then also, and you asked for it when you asked for a couple on a show for an interview, I guess. But Anna's a huge inspiration for me, and the thing I would have to say most importantly is that she does a really good job of like having patience with me. I'm like a lot of StarCraft players. I'm a pretty angry guy. So when I get really frustrated, it's hard for me to calm down and cool off. And she just kind of has worked with me throughout all the many years of me being irrationally upset, and we've just kind of grown to become more and more of a symbiotic and mutually beneficial relationship. And we're always going to be on that journey, but she's just kind of inspiring with how diligent she works through that. So
I think we have a couple's inspiration too. Both of our sets of grandparents have been really influential and inspirational for us in terms of, like, if we're talking about marriage. My grandparents were married over 60 years, and I spent a lot of time with them. And my grandfather passed away a couple years back, and spent a lot of time with them kind of at the end of his life, and just saw how, like Jeff said, how symbiotic they were, and how it was like when they got married, they took that very seriously. They became one being, and it didn't matter. Anything outside that didn't matter. It was that I might as well be you, and you might as well be me. And that for us has kind of given us a model and a hope and something exciting to look forward to, getting married and moving into old age.
Yeah, it is something to look forward to, especially when you have such great examples like that of growing old with somebody and sharing all those wonderful life experiences together. I'm 25, and there's instances in my life where it may just be to go watch a play or watch a movie, and I think it would be really nice if I could share this with someone. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's part of what marriage is. You always have someone to share those things with. That it could be something as grand of buying a new car or having a child, or something as small of watching a movie together in your living room. So it's very special. Those small and simple things can bring a lot of happiness. Final few questions for you guys. Anna, who would you like to interview? Like, what's the one person you would love to interview?
Oh, you keep asking me for favorites. It's like I'm failing at this interview. Interview fail.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Who would I like to interview the most? I mean, the easy cop-out answer is like the president or something like that. Okay, here we go. You didn't put any rules on me, so I'm going to pick someone who's dead.
Okay.
Don't.
What?
I say she can do it as the host. Go ahead.
There's like debate rules. This question gets answered asked all the time, and you never answer Jesus, Mother Teresa, and Martin Luther King. You can't. Those three.
I will allow Abe Lincoln or JFK.
I actually, well, now that Jeff has completely...
You're going to say Mother Teresa, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
She doesn't speak English. You can't.
Okay.
And she's also dead. Zombie Teresa would just try to eat your brains, and then she would try to run you down.
Just answer. I actually went to India. I did this volunteer service with...
Now I see why you're answering it that way.
What?
You just wanted to plug this, didn't you?
Go ahead, Anna. Go ahead. I want to hear the story.
No, Jeff can go. Whatever.
I would interview this poor guy that I gave like $500 to. I can't remember how much it was. It might have been $1,000. I kissed him on the forehead and fed him water. He was actually dehydrated. So.
I went to India a few years back. I worked with Mother Teresa's organization, which is thriving posthumously. She's gone, but it's this fantastic, amazing organization that's doing these amazing things based on the passion that this one woman had. And she didn't have resources. She didn't have, powerful friends. She didn't have everything you would think you would need to create such a huge, lasting impact on the world. But she just had this steadfast faith and this, passion for helping people that turned into something where now I can go there and her legacy is still just as alive. And so it would be, maybe there's a reason that she's a cliche answer, because it would be just a huge honor to interview someone like that and to get some insight into how you don't let the normal doubt that keeps most of us back from our full potential, how you don't let that get in the way. And I think for me at this point in my life, that's really important, is where I want to attack each day with faith that I can get farther than I ever dreamed. And I think that she is a great example of that, and of using that not for her own selfish gain, but for others.
Especially somebody in the age that she was when she became the most prominent in popularity, because it's really easy to be cynical, especially with working with humans for so long, and to see the kinds of mistakes that they make, and they don't forgive themselves, they don't forgive other people, and it's easy just to become downtrodden and even disrespectful at times, because you're just sick of the game that humans play against each other. But the amount of hope and compassion and love that she had, and the service that she did, really gained the world's attention. So I declare, Anna, that is a safe answer on shifting gears of who you'd like to interview.
Thank you.
Jeff, this question's for you, buddy.
Okay.
In the realm of esports, what changes would you make if you were all-powerful? What would you want to change?
Ooh. Interesting. I think, it's I guess if I'm all-powerful, I would inject more positivity into the community. And it's funny because I've gotten asked this before, and then every time I tease someone, they're like, "You're not injecting positivity." So of course, I'm not saying everything is like always super positive, and we're not critical of mistakes, and we don't watch for error, Mm-hmm. But I do feel that the StarCraft 2 community is a cynic first, a critic first. I feel like
That's most of the internet. Cynic first.
Yeah, it's internet, sure. And I feel like it's pretty easy to be really down on something as opposed to overly supportive. So if I were to do that, I would have the scales of the universe in regard to StarCraft in the internet, I guess, but I'm not going to try to tackle that beast, even with all power. To just have them be a little bit more supportive. And I'll tell you, I've been in both worlds. I've been in Brood War, where it was so small and the community was so tight-knit that it was very easy to be supportive first, critical second, because those were the only guys you had. So you can't really recycle them because there's nothing behind. There's no next guy in line. That's all you have. And in StarCraft 2, we have the luxury where there's so many more people involved in every aspect, including the audience, but also the players themselves, that we can afford to be critical. We can afford to be not necessarily just positive because we need to out of survivability. We can get out with the weak and get in the new. Mm-hmm. But I think we would all benefit from just a slightly different mindset.
It reminds me of a time in Spider-Man 1 when the Green Goblin is talking to Peter Parker, and he says, "You know what the people love more than a hero? A hero that falls."
Yeah.
And that's what the internet to me is sometimes, is they love to see people fail and to fall down and to tear them down on the way. So I completely agree with you, Jeff, on positivity. Anna?
I don't know, the inject positivity answer again, that's like so cliche. I don't know.
Oh, geez. I say it's safe on shifting gears as an answer.
Now I'm just sitting here thinking of all the other people I'd want to interview that are not as cliche as Mother Teresa.
I'll ask you next time.
Next interview, yeah.
What has been the happiest moment together so far that you've had as a couple?
I am going to stop trying to pick favorites. I'm just going to pick the first one that comes to mind because there have been way too many happy moments. But I particularly remember this one time in college where it was snowing, and with as much as you hear about weather in Oregon, it's actually not very common that we get a real good snow. Mm-hmm. And Jeff and I both love the snow, and we went on a walk and we just sat on this bench, and it was pitch black nighttime, but you could see the snow like falling in the street lamps. And I just remember sitting there and thinking about how much I really loved this man and how glad I was to have someone to appreciate the snow with. And
I didn't even know she was there. She was actually watching me from across the street.
Okay, here's another one to counteract Jeff's negativity. I'm going to inject some positivity. Ready?
Okay.
At the end of my second try at Miss Oregon America, I had been just preparing, and the previous year I had gotten second runner-up, which is like a big deal, and everyone was like, you're definitely going to win this year, and everyone was like expecting great things from me and blah, blah, blah. And the way pageantry works, you can never predict who the winner's going to be, no matter how hard you work. Whatever happens. And I got third runner-up my second year. So everyone's like, oh, you should have won. Oh, why? The judges, blah, blah, blah. But Jeff just walked straight up to me with tears welling up in his eyes, and he just said, I am so, so proud of you, and gave me a big hug. And that meant so much more than all the people that said I got ripped off or I got gypped or, whatever it was, because I had worked hard and I was proud of myself, and I was totally okay with the result because I got to go to the beach with him the next day, and I didn't have to be whisked off and do media things. And I treasure that moment so much. It actually makes me tear up to think about that moment because of how special it was to me, because he was the only one who got what I needed to hear at that moment.
Jeff, same question.
Tough act to follow. Tough act to follow. Let me see. There have been so many.
That means you can't think of one.
No, I'm trying to think of a good one. You can't follow that up with like, this one time she made me the sandwich. It was so good. I mean, to be honest, one of the happiest moments I've ever had was with her was I don't know why, and it's kind of lame that this is the second out of 3 pageant stories that we're telling, because I swear we have good times outside of pageantry. When I watched her compete for Miss USA, which is separate from Miss America, and the year she won, I was, for whatever reason, just completely wired and strung out and crazy anxious for her to compete here. And when she finally won,
like rocking and like shaking, and like my friends had to send him away like that.
It's because I had seen her, and like she always wants to win. It's nice when we place highly, but you go there to win. I've seen her place highly but not win 2 out of the 2 times before. So close but so far at the same time. And for this time, for it to finally be her time, I was just so happy and thankful, because not everyone's guaranteed to win something big like that. Like I could play for the rest of my life StarCraft 2 and never win a major tournament and still be happy and okay with that, but that's just not in the cards for me. So to be around someone that was able to achieve that level of success in their little competition is pretty damn cool. So I was really happy about that. And then let's do another one, since Anna did 2. Sometimes, I think the other one was like this last trip to Disneyland we took together, and obviously there's the proposal in there, but just the whole trip in general. Anna and I are both kind of like, we're kind of the organizers / leaders of our social circles, so it can actually get stressful. We had 4 or 5 other friends join us, and we kind of had to set the pace and tell everyone what we're doing and stuff, because they relied on us to do that. And it gets stressful, but Anna and I just kept kind of looking at each other and making sure we were okay, and making sure that like the other one was really enjoying their time too, and it just kind of clicked for me that we work and it's going to be really awesome. So I was pretty happy about that. It's kind of lame, but whatever.
I think with the backstory, it helps, because Jeff and I have been to Disneyland together, just us, once before, And as you can tell, I'm a little bit intense about Disneyland, and my family treated Disneyland in such a way that it was like you go and you get into the park and you run from ride to ride because you are going to get as much fun as you can out of that money that you paid, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Jeff, at the time that we went together, he actually had a leg injury, and he was much more about just kind of walking around, kind of enjoying the scenery. And so we kind of butted heads that first time we went a while back, where I was like, I don't understand why you don't care that I'm not having fun. And he's like, I don't understand why you're not being sensitive that I'm having an injury, you know. And so the fact that both of us have grown to the point where we know what the other one needs to be having a fun time, and we were both doing that effortlessly, I think that's what maybe made it so special. Do you think so, Jeff?
Yeah.
Well, that's a great way to end this interview, I think, guys. That's fantastic. Congratulations on your engagement. From the bottom of my heart, you guys really are an inspiration of showing that there is true love out there, especially with someone that has the like-mindedness, the like interests, and also the same supportive power that really can be felt by people that are around you guys. It's no joke. It's true. And thank you so much for coming on Shifting Gears today, and have a great Valentine's Day. And in closing, I'd love to let you guys have some shout-outs to whoever you'd like to thank, or your sponsors, or whomever. So, Anna, you are first, as always.
Well, first, thanks to you. And I'm sorry for failing at all of your favorite questions, because that's like actually in pageantry, with all the interview coaching I do, those are my worst questions. Anyway, but shout out obviously to our team, Evil Geniuses, all of our major sponsors. Jeff will rattle them off, so listen to him do it. He's better than me. Shout out to Jeff for being the love of my life. I'm just going to keep talking. If you would follow me on Twitter and Facebook, both is /AnnaProsser. YouTube is AnnaProsser TV, and Twitch TV /AnnaProsser. That would be great. Also, please follow Jeff and everything he does, because supporting him is one of the most important things in my life, and I would appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Anna. Jeff?
Thank you for having us on. Shout out to the team, Evil Geniuses, our sponsors, Intel, SteelSeries, Kingston HyperX, Monster Energy, Beyond Gaming, and recently acquired Sapphire. I want to give a special shout out to all of our fans. Ann and I are very lucky to have a lot of people that care about the stuff we do. Talking about our engagement, our relationship in this capacity is really fun, and it's kind of cool that people even want to hear about it. So that's we're very fortunate to have that. Yeah, follow me on Twitter, iNcontrol. Twitch, I'll be streaming EG practices, iNcontrol TV on Twitch, just to make it confusing for you guys. And then check us out. We'll be at all the MLGs, doing, Anna doing content, and me hopefully redeeming myself a little bit there. And then thank you everyone for all the support.
Well, thanks again for being on the show. Best of luck in all your endeavors. I look forward to seeing you guys in person here pretty soon. And God bless you on your engagement, and I know you guys are going to have a wonderful wedding.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, that was a wonderful interview with iNcontrol and Anna Prosser. A huge shout out to them for the time they took and for their wonderful and candid answers, and we wish them the best. I hope you guys had a great Valentine's Day. Wrapping up the show, a reminder that next week there will not be an episode of Shifting Gears, because the show I'm in, Death of a Salesman at the Virginia Stage Company, will be opening that night. If I did have a date for Valentine's Day, I would have loved it to be Olivia Wilde, but if she was busy, then my next choice, of course, would have been the girl from Sucker Punch, the actress that played Baby Doll, or just Baby Doll in person. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and you have a great evening, and Happy Valentine's Day. Whoa! Wait, let me drop the stream. I love this holiday!